She left him and their twin girls, thinking he'd fail, but what happened next? Devastating. The leaves danced as the October wind howled through the small town of Maplewood. It was the kind of place where secrets buried deep were ready to surface in the most shocking ways. When Sarah walked out that door, leaving behind her husband and their precious twin girls, the town held its breath. Could a man really rise from the ashes of a shattered family? Would he crumble under the weight of expectations and despair? Or could something far more extraordinary happen? Mike stood in the doorway, the autumn chill biting at his skin, staring at that empty space where his family once gathered. Dread consumed him like a thick fog rolling in from the river, wrapping around his chest so tightly he could hardly breathe. Not even the cries of his daughters in the background, sweet little voices asking where Mommy went could lift that weight off his heart. It twisted like a knife, but that was just the beginning. Whispers spread through the town like wildfire. "DLL never make it," they said. "Look at him, a stay-at-home dad." They didn't TC the late nights he spent feverishly working on his online business, the desperation in his eyes as he juggled naps and spreadsheets. But what they didn't know, a secret buried deep inside him, was the fierce drive ignited by Sarah's betrayal. He wasn't going to fail. He couldn't. It was like he had something to prove now, not just to the townsfolk, but to himself. If the world thought he was down for the count, he was determined to get back up swinging. He was building an empire from scratch, each click of his keyboard resonating not just with ambition, but with the haunting echo of his family's absence. With every sale he made, he felt them closer, almost like their laughter was in the air around him, a stubborn reminder of what he was fighting for. Just then, his phone buzzed violently on the kitchen table, breaking his concentration. An unknown number. His stomach knotted, a bad feeling washed over him. He answered hesitantly, heart racing. "Is this Mike?" A voice crackled through the speaker. "I have information about Sarah." His pulse quickened. Was she in trouble? Had she really left them for good? "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Mike's breath hitched. What do you mean? What has happened? The voice paused, a heavy silence stretching between them like a taut wire ready to snap. "You need to come to the old bridge on Friday. It's about your girls and her." The line clicked dead. His mind raced, fear clawing at his insides. What could possibly be happening? He glanced toward the empty living room, where the girls' toys lay scattered like remnants of a life that unraveled too quickly. What was Sarah involved in? And how did this stranger know her? The questions swirled like a tempest in his chest, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky a bloody orange. Mike felt an urgent call to action. He couldn't let fear paralyze him. But what awaited him at that old bridge? Was it a chance for redemption, or a trap shrouded in darkness? All he knew was that he needed answers, and he needed them fast. And so, with determination burning fiercely within, Mike prepared to step into the unknown. The clock was ticking. The week dragged on like a distant thunderstorm rolling in, heavy and pregnant with possibility. Friday loomed like a specter, whispering promises of answers or nightmares. Mike couldn't shake the knots in his stomach, a gnawing anxiety that would only grow as the week wore on. Each tick of the clock in his empty house echoed in his mind, reminding him of how little time he had left before facing whatever awaited him at the old bridge. He spent the days frantically preparing, pouring his heart into work, while simultaneously keeping an eye on the twins. They danced around the house, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing. Their laughter, innocent yet haunting, was both a comfort and a cruel reminder of what he stood to lose. Every time he caught sight of their bright eyes, his resolve hardened. He couldn't let anything happen to them. When Friday finally arrived, the sun barely peeked through the thick clouds. The air was charged with tension. A cold wind whipped through Maplewood as he parked at the old bridge, the wood creaking ominously beneath his feet as he stepped out of the car. He was alone, the atmosphere thick with an unsettling silence. For a moment, he just stood there, taking in the surroundings, the river flowing beneath, the nearby trees swaying like skeletal fingers against the ashen sky. It felt wrong, like stepping into a horror movie. He glanced at his watch. A few minutes past 6. He had arrived early, the urgency to confront whatever revelations awaited him skyrocketing his heart rate. "Mike!" A voice broke through the stillness, startling him. Mike spun around to find a woman stepping from the shadows, her face obscured by the dim light. It took him a moment to recognize her. Rebecca, Sarah's childhood friend. "What are you doing here?" he asked, a mixture of relief and confusion washing over him. "I came to warn you. You need to leave," she urged, her eyes darting nervously around as if expecting someone to leap from the shadows. Her panic mirrored his own, sending a shiver racing down his spine. "Warn me? About what?" His heart raced with dread. "What do you know about Sarah?" "She's in trouble, Mike. Dangerous trouble. You don't want to get involved." Her voice was urgent, but Mike's mind was racing. He needed answers. "Tell me the truth. I can't leave without knowing." His frustration bubbled, but there was a flicker of something in Rebecca's eyes, fear mixed with empathy. "Sarah, she's been mixed up with people she's shooting TB. Things have gone really bad, and Her breath hitched as if she couldn't say it. "What are you saying? Are the girls safe?" The possibility of harm to his daughters rekindled his fury. "Not if you stay here," she exclaimed. She's made enemies, and they might come for her family. "For you." Before Mike could process her words, a shout erupted from behind. "Get away from him!" A tall figure stepped forward, a man Mike had never seen, but who radiated an aura of menace. He looked dangerous, like a predator that had caught the scent of its prey. Mike's heart stumbled over itself as he saw the glint of something metallic in a man's hand. "Mike!" Rebecca screamed, her voice slicing through the cold air just as the man lunged forward. In that split second, time froze around him. Would he fight? Would he flee? The stakes were higher than ever, the moment exploding with potential consequences. The truth about Sarah hung in the balance, and the darkness crept closer as the world tilted into chaos, fear, panic, and confusion swirling like a tempest. Mike was left with one burning question in his heart. Could he save his family from the secrets of Sarah's past? The answer loomed just beyond the reach of light. Mike barely had time to process Rebecca's frantic warning before the man charged toward him, closing the gap in an instant. Instinct kicked in, and he took a step back, adrenaline surging through his veins. He felt a wild mix of fear and determination. "Get behind me," he shouted at Rebecca. She hesitated, wide-eyed, but she quickly backed away. Yet something in her expression sparked an ominous feeling deep within him. The man stopped a few feet away, a wicked smile twisting his features as he brandished a knife that glimmered menacingly in the dim light. "You're not supposed to be here," he growled, his voice a low rumble. "Who are you?" Mike demanded, his heart racing as he took another step back, scanning the area for any other signs of danger. "You don't need to know my name," the man sneered. "But you're about to learn why you should keep your nose out of things that don't concern you." In that moment, Mike glanced at Rebecca, whose terrified gaze seemed to plead with him to run. But he couldn't abandon her or the girls. "What do you want?" Mike asked, trying to buy time, gripping the edge of a wooden beam behind him. "I want you to stop digging into Sarah's life. She's betrayed people who don't just let things go," the man said, taking a deliberate step closer, the knife reflecting strange flashes of light. "This is your last chance to walk away." "No, I want to leave without knowing the truth." Mike felt a mix of terror and determination course through him. "You can't keep me away from my family." The man's smile faltered, briefly exposing a flicker of rage before he lunged, knife aimed straight for Mike's chest. Time slowed as Mike instinctively sidestepped, feeling the rush of air as the blade barely nicked his jacket. "Get down!" Rebecca screamed. Mike dove to the ground, narrowly avoiding a second slash from the blade. The impact rattled his bones, and he felt air rush from his lungs. He rolled away just in time to see Rebecca charging forward, tackling the man from the side. They tumbled to the ground, and Mike's heart raced faster. "Stay back," Mike shouted, scrambling to his feet. But the man quickly pushed Rebecca off him, regaining his footing with a menacing growl. She landed hard, stunned but unbroken. Mike felt a surge of protective rage. The world narrowed to this moment the threat against his family, the stranger before him. With a roar, Mike rushed forward, summoning every last ounce of courage. He tackled the man hard, pushing him toward the wooden railing of the bridge. The man fought back viciously, their bodies colliding with the same force as the rushing river below. Suddenly, a deafening crack echoed through the air. One of the planks beneath their feet splintered, sending a shockwave of fear through Mike. They were both off balance, now trapped in a fight that felt as precarious as the bridge itself. In that chaotic instant, a thought pierced through the haze. What if this all escalates into something worse? The thought of losing Rebecca, of losing the twins, of losing everything sent a chill racing through him. The man's knife glinted in the fading light, and with a savage twist, Mike finally wrestled it from his grip, tossing it into the murky depths of the river below. But the fight was far from over. The man narrowed his eyes, fury radiating off him. "You made a big mistake," he hissed as he lunged once more. Mike braced himself for the impact, realizing the choice was no longer just about survival. It was about facing the terrifying unknown of Sarah's choices and what they meant for his family. Just as everything felt lost, a loud crack rang out not far from where they stood a shot, echoing through the evening air like a warning. Both men froze, eyes wide with confusion and fear. "What was that?" Rebecca gasped, staring at Mike with terror in her eyes. Before Mike could respond, the man staggered back, glancing over his shoulder. The moment of vulnerability hung heavy between them. And then, as if the night itself held its breath, a dark shadow appeared at the end of the bridge, watching, waiting. The very fabric of Mike's reality was about to shred apart, unraveling everything he thought he knew. Who was hunting them? What secret did Sarah truly carry? The shadow moved, a tall figure silhouetted against the dying light of the bridge. Mike squinted, trying to make out the features, heart hammering in his chest. Was this another threat? Or something else entirely? Without warning, the figure stepped forward, revealing a woman in a dark coat, her face enigmatic. "Stop," she commanded, her voice strong and clear. Mike blinked, caught between confusion and relief. "Who are you?" he shouted, keeping his eyes on the knife-wielding man, ready to react at a moment's notice. "Tess," she replied, steadying herself against the railing. "I know them." She nodded at the man, now recovering from his earlier stumble. "He won't stop until he gets what he wants." "What do you know?" Mike demanded, adrenaline flooding through him again. Tess seemed unfazed by the danger, her focus entirely on the man, now creeping closer. "Sarah made a deal, a bad one. You don't understand the depths of her ties. And she's not the only one," she warned, her eyes flickering back to the figure before them. But before she could finish, the man surged forward, fueled by rage. "You shouldn't have come here." He lunged once more, driven by the same desperation that painted the shadows around them. "Mike, look out!" Rebecca shrieked, but Mike barely had time to register her warning. He shoved Tess out of the way, catching the man's arm instead, the knife swiping just inches from his face. They grappled wildly, Mike feeling the strength of a man who had everything to lose. The adrenaline coursed through him like fire. This fight wasn't just for his survival. It was a fight for understanding, for the lives of his girls that hung in a delicate balance. With a sudden twist of his body, he disarmed the man, sending the knife spinning off the bridge and into the water below. But the man retaliated quickly, delivering a blow to Mike's midsection that sent him stumbling back. Pain blossomed, and he gasped for breath, suddenly aware of how fragile everything felt. As he paused to regain his footing, Tess sidestepped, pulling something from her jacket. "You need this," she cried, throwing a compact device into his hands. It's a tracker. You have to find Sarah before they do. What? Why can't you just help me? Mike shouted, heart racing as he caught the man's glare grow more lethal, a storm brewing in his eyes. I can't, Tess yelled back, desperation flashing across her face. I'm in too deep, but you can save her. She's in danger. Rebecca moved closer to Mike, her eyes wide with sudden understanding. You know where she is? Yes. Tess insisted, urgency tightening her voice. You have to trust me. Follow the signal. Just don't let him catch up to you. The second you turn your back. Her warning hung in the air like a heavy fog. At that moment, the man lunged again, and chaos erupted anew. Mike's instincts kicked in, and he dodged, feeling the rush of air as the fist grazed his cheek. Everything was spiraling, unfolding faster than he could plan. He had to make a choice. Fight for his life here, or risk everything for Sarah. With a glance at Rebecca, he felt the weight of both their fears locking him in place. We need to go, he said, making a split-second decision to flee while they had a chance. But beneath the tension, shadows were shifting, and he was all too aware that they weren't as safe as he thought. Tess's warning echoed in his mind what danger followed them. As they sprinted down the bridge, the threat trailing behind felt more real than ever. Mike could hear the man's growl, hear the shift in the atmosphere, like a storm brewing just out of sight. And then came the chilling sound of footsteps pursuing them, determined, relentless. Go, 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 Rebecca urged, but uncertainty began to claw at Mike's confidence, the weight of secrets tightening around them. What awaited him at the end of the signal? More questions than answers? As they reached the edge of the bridge, half-turned, Mike hesitated. Would they step into the abyss of the unknown, or confront the danger behind them? The choice hung heavy in the air, the decision looming with the same intensity as the dark figure still behind them, ready to strike. Could he really find Sarah before it was too late? The bridge's end loomed ahead, darkness spilling into the unknown. Mike's heart raced. He cast a desperate glance back. The man was gaining on them, fueled by a fury that seemed to pulse like the dying light behind. Mike, Rebecca shouted, pulling him back to her side. We can't just stand here. They were trapped, caught between the raging storm of the man's wrath and the dark abyss of the street below. The tracker felt cold in his palm, a lifeline to Sarah, but it could also be a lure, drawing them deeper into danger. Okay, he stuttered, confusion and fear swirling within him. Let us move. They bolted toward the staircase leading down from the bridge, the metal clanking underfoot echoing their heartbeat. The air felt thick, each breath a fight against the nagging fear that the man might catch up at any moment. Behind them, the sound of footsteps thundered, relentless and unforgiving. Where do we go? Rebecca gasped, glancing at the device in Mike's hand. Just follow the signal, he said, voice steady but mind racing. They emerged onto a dimly lit street lined with abandoned shops, shadows creeping out from their corners like hungry ghosts. The tracker blinked rapidly, a blue light pulsing in a pattern that felt almost mocking. It pointed toward an alley, dark and inviting, a stark contrast to the chaos behind them. Should we really go in there? Rebecca's voice was taut with hesitation. It's our only shot, he urged, determination surging. They slipped into the alley, the darkness swallowing them whole. The sounds of pursuit faded momentarily, replaced by the echo of their heavy breathing. As they moved deeper into the alley, the walls seemed to close in, the shadows growing thicker. The tracker flickered, leading them deeper into the maze of the unknown. A persistent, nagging urge tickled at the back of Mike's mind. Something was off. With every step, Mike felt the weight of his choices crashing down. Did he truly trust Tess? What deal had Sarah made that was so crucial? What dangers lurked around every corner? Just as they reached the far end of the alley, the tracker emitted a sharp beep, halting them cold. It had zeroed in on a location, an abandoned warehouse at the end of the street. Here, Mike said, glancing over his shoulder. The air grew heavy, silence wrapping around them tightly. Where was the man? Do we go in? Rebecca whispered, her eyes darting around, half expecting the man to jump out from behind the steel walls. Yeah, Mike hesitated. We have to. It's our best chance. They approached cautiously, every sound amplified in the stillness, distant sirens, a cat scurrying away, and the low hum of uncertainty buzzing in his ears. The door to the warehouse was ajar, a shadow inviting them in. Mike felt a swell of hope and dread colliding. As they stepped inside, the air smelled stale like hidden secrets just waiting to be uncovered. Look, Rebecca pointed toward the tracker. It reacted wildly, pulsating faster. Mike's gut twisted. She's close, but before he could process the implications, a voice echoed through the darkness. You should have come here, Mike. His entire body froze. The voice belonged to a woman, cold and unyielding. Who are you? He called, panic threading through his words, readying himself for the reality that his hope could come crashing down. Someone who knows all about Sarah. The shadows shifted, revealing a dim silhouette. Was this the key to everything? Or a trap he'd walked right into? The truth hung in the air, vibrant and volatile, waiting to explode. What would they uncover in the darkness? And could they survive the answers that awaited? Who are you? The question trembled on Mike's lips, hanging heavy in the air. The woman took a step into a pool of dim light, revealing sharp features and eyes that shimmered like cold steel. Names are unimportant, she replied, her voice smooth yet laced with a chilling undertone. What matters is what you're seeking, and what you're willing to sacrifice for it. Rebecca shifted closer to Mike, her hand clutching his arm as if it were a lifeline. What do you know about Sarah? She asked, her voice steadying despite the tremor in her stance. The woman's lips curled into a knowing smile. I know everything. The warehouse felt like a tomb, the walls closing in. Mike took a tentative step forward, heart pounding. Try me. Sarah made a deal. The woman continued, her gaze piercing through the dimness like a searchlight. A bargain to keep her children safe. But safety comes at a price. Your ignorance may cost you everything. Each word struck Mike like a thunderclap, awakening fears he buried deep within. What did she do? Panic flared in his chest, visions of Sarah and their girls flashing through his mind. The woman tilted her head slightly, as if assessing Mike's desperation. She exchanged knowledge for protection. But it's twisted. The darkness doesn't stay confined. It will come for you, for them. Silence descended, thick and suffocating. Mike's heart raced. Was Sarah truly complicit in something so sinister? Justice and betrayal waged a silent battle within him. Why tell us? He finally asked, his voice taut with suspicion. You don't need to, you're right, she interrupted, stepping closer. But it's not just your lives at stake. You're about to walk into a web that is already spinning around you. The man who chased you, he's just a pawn. Rebecca's breath caught. A pawn? What do you mean? Before the woman could answer, a distant noise reverberated through the warehouse. It was the sound of footsteps. Heavy, purposeful. Mike's blood ran cold as he felt a looming presence in the air, suffocating hope. Get ready, the woman whispered, her eyes darting toward the door. He's here, and he's not coming to play. Instinct kicked in. Mike grabbed Rebecca's arm. We need to hide now. They dashed behind a stack of old crates, the shadows swallowing them whole. The warehouse creaked ominously as the footsteps drew closer. Mike's heart thundered in his ears, drowning out the noise, drowning out everything. Peering through the narrow gap between the crates, Mike's muscles coiled tight, watching the entrance. A figure emerged, silhouetted against the fading light, moving with a purpose that sent a chill racing down his spine. It was him, the man from the bridge, the one fueled by rage and malice, now stalking toward them with an air of predatory confidence. Where are you? His voice boomed, the sound sending tremors through the air. It was as if the very shadows trembled at his presence. Mike's breath caught, his mind racing. They had no backup plan, no way out. They were trapped. What do we do? Whispered Rebecca, wide-eyed. Your only chance is to face him. The woman's voice whispered from the shadows, blending into the tension. But remember, the truth isn't always what it seems. Mike's mind scrambled. A face-off? With the secrets unraveling around them. Was that the only way? Maybe the truth wouldn't just come to light. It would blind them. The question was, how much were they willing to lose? As the man took another step closer, a horrifying realization dawned on Mike. There was more at stake than he could have ever prepared for. "Let us use the tracker," Mike whispered urgently. It pulsed with energy in his pocket like a beating heart. But was it their salvation or another trick that would lead them deeper into the abyss? They stood on the precipice of truth and danger, but which path would they choose? In that moment, everything felt poised to fracture. Amid shadows and uncertainty, the choice loomed ahead. Would they confront the man, or would they run blind into the dark, trusting a device that might betray them? The air crackled. The next move. Undefined. What shadows would they cast if they stepped into the light? The figure loomed ever closer, his presence swallowing the dim light in the warehouse. Mike's mind raced like a train lurching down an untamed track. Shadows twisted around them, amplifying the impending dread firmly lodged in his throat. Rebecca's voice faltered, fear creeping in as the man's eyes scanned the room. Was he searching, or was this a game of dominion, reveling in the torment he inspired? "Stay quiet," Mike breathed, tightening his grip on Rebecca's arm. His legs felt like lead, the instinct to run battling with the weight of an overwhelming urgency. They had answers wrapped in danger and an unknown man intent on their undoing. Then, as if pausing to savor the stillness, the man stepped into a shaft of light. Mike's breath hitched in his throat, seeing the familiar malice twisting his features. This was no commonplace aggressor. He exuded a menacing energy, shadows bending to his will. "Show yourself," the man barked, cutting through the thick silence like a blade. The air swirled with tension, thick as molasses. Every instinct within Mike screamed to flee, yet they had no direction. Their only hope was to face him, or was that just an illusion? "Now," whispered the woman behind them, her voice smooth and calculating. "You'll want him to think you're brave." Before Mike could process her words, she ducked into the shadows, vanishing like mist. The electricity crackled in the charged atmosphere, almost palpable, spurring adrenaline through his veins. "Stay behind me," he urged Rebecca, his voice low but steady. With a heart that felt like a drumline, Mike took a step forward into the light, shifting his stance as determination surged. "What do you want?" The challenge echoed in the empty space between them, laced with a flicker of defiance. The man smirked, lips curling as if savoring a delicious secret. "You've crossed into a place you're not equipped to understand, boy. Everything is at risk here. Not just your life, but those twin girls you think are safe." Anger forged a blazing fire in Mike's chest. "Leave them out of this. This is between you and me." "Is it?" The man's laughter was cold, a harsh wind that chilled the air. "How naive. It's all connected. And Sarah, she promised me a world where I wouldn't need to hunt for them. But here you are, meddling in affairs beyond your comprehension. You should have stayed hidden." The weight of those words landed hard, a suffocating blanket of darkness threatening to suffocate. Mike's heart raced, realization crashing over him like a wave. Sarah had made a pact, not just for her own safety, but for the very lives of their children. What darkness had she unleashed? "Why are you doing this?" Mike asked, his voice cracking. "Why chase us? If you can have what you want, why not leave us alone?" "Because it's never that simple, is it?" The man stepped even closer, the air crackling with volatile energy. "Every action has a reaction, and sometimes the reaction is worse than the gutless choice to hide. When you meddle in fate, Mike, there's always a price." He began to circle, a predator sizing up its prey. Rebecca, tension bristling in her frame, shifted behind Mike, her eyes wide with panic. But in that moment, silence fell heavy again, time seeming to hang suspended. "Choose now," the man hissed, leaning closer, the fader of malice flooding the space. "Face me and learn what lies behind the veil you wish to protect, or run, and watch your world unravel before your eyes." Mike took a breath, recognizing the truth rolling forth like an avalanche. The tracker pulsed ominously, a heartbeat of desperate hope in his pocket, demanding attention. Time slipped through his fingers like sand. Run or fight, he murmured under his breath, glancing at Rebecca, seeking her eyes for a shared resolve. They stood at the threshold of destiny, a storm brewing, choices crystallizing around them. What would they embrace? Flight with uncertainty or the perilous truth laid bare? As the man's gaze intensified, Mike felt the inevitability of the moment crashing down. Just then, a sharp sound echoed in the distance. Sirens, an approaching storm that sent a jolt of adrenaline through him. But were they a herald of hope or harbingers of chaos? In the face of unraveling secrets, their next move could shatter everything they held dear. Would they confront the tempest or become swept away in its wake? Time was slipping away as the shadows drew closer and the decision loomed large. What path would they choose, and who would pay the ultimate price? The moment hung in the air like a taut wire, every second strained and electric. Mike's heart thudded, a restless beast clawing against his ribs. Rebecca's grip tightened around his arm, a silent plea for reassurance. They had to decide. Listen, Mike, she whispered, her eyes flitting between the deranged figure before them and the shadows threatening to engulf them. We can't just stay quiet. He shot back, cutting her off, fearful that any word could awaken the storm. The man chuckled, a low, sinister sound that reverberated through the warehouse, bouncing off the cold metal walls. Ah, sweet girl, he doesn't have the luxury of silence anymore. You're both in this now, whether you like it or not. Mike felt the ground shift beneath him as menace dripped from the man's voice. You're wrong. Mike pressed, trying to regain some control. This isn't about you, or your creepy games. We just want our lives back. Back. The man's eyes narrowed. You really think you can reclaim something that was never yours? Sarah's steel set things in motion long before either of you took a breath. But here you are, pawns in a game far too large for your comprehension. The stakes are rising, and soon enough, you'll learn just how fragile your little world is. The sirens grew louder, a haunting siren call that sent a chill through Mike. Was help on its way, or were they too far down the rabbit hole? Desperation coiled tight in his gut. Mike glanced at Rebecca, and for a brief moment, words unspoken flowed between them, a shared determination. They wouldn't succumb to fear. They couldn't fight, she mouthed, and the flicker of fire ignited in her eyes sparked a matching flame within him. Fine, he declared, voice steadying. We'll face you, whatever it takes. That cold smile spread across the man's face, illuminating dark intentions. A noble choice, but not one without consequence. He lunged, faster than Mike could react, the air pulsating with his fury. Just before the shattering collision, the warehouse door burst open, and uniformed figures flooded inside, lights flashing and voices shouting. Hands up! Hands where we can see them. The man halted, all ferocity replaced by a flicker of palpable rage. Mike seized the moment, pulling Rebecca behind him. Their eyes locked now was their chance. The man took a step back, nostrils flared as he sized up the sudden appearance of the police. Anguish and disbelief contorted his features for a split second, then twisted into a sneer. This isn't over, he spat, fear coiling around his rage. You're all just minor players in a game that's far from finished. Then, with a grace that belied his menacing form, he melted into the shadows, vanishing as if he had never been there at all. Mike exhaled sharply, tension evaporating in an instant, replaced by raw disbelief and overwhelming questions. The police were here, but had they arrived in time to save them? And what would happen next? Mike, Rebecca's voice trembled, pulling him back to the moment. Did we really just let him go? He turned, searching the darkness, but the void held no answers. The agents swarmed, weapons raised, uncertainty mingling with their confused commands. What is happening? Clear the area. Where did he go? Mike demanded, his voice rising. He is dangerous. He threatened our girls. Stay back, sir, a cop shouted, positioning himself between Mike and the entrance. We need to assess the situation. Mike stepped forward, driven by overwhelming urgency. You don't understand. He has my children. This is about them. But the officers drew closer, weapons still aimed. As chaos unfolded around them, Mike's heart raced faster than he could comprehend. Without the man hovering over them, darkness still loomed in the edges of their lives. Would they ever find peace? And now that the police were here, was he too trapped within his own fate? In that moment, a harsh realization struck him, one far worse than he had imagined. The true battle for their lives was only just beginning, and the cost might be more than he was willing to pay. A cacophony of voices rose and blurred, and as Mike searched the shifting shadows, a chilling whisper echoed in his mind. What other horrors lie ahead? The tension in the warehouse had shifted, but Mike felt no relief. The police officers slammed doors shut behind them, forming a protective perimeter. Yet that protection felt like a cage. The weight of uncertainty loomed heavier now, like a dark cloud ready to break. Get back. Everyone stay clear. One officer barked, directing everyone away from the scene. Mike's adrenaline surged with each frantic pulse of his heart. They needed to find that man. They had to before he vanished completely. Mike, we need to think, Rebecca urged, her voice trembling. We can't let him get away. He's a threat to the girls. He nodded, desperation clawing at his throat. I know, but what can we do? We'll never find him now. Look, Rebecca pointed as another officer shoved a flashlight into the shadows where the man had disappeared. They need information. We know how dangerous he is. Mike interrupted, frustration spilling over. What if we go after him? Are you crazy? She shot back, eyes wide with disbelief. Those cops are armed. We could get arrested just for stepping 1 foot out of line. Just think, Rebecca. If we wait, we risk the chance to save our girls. The thought of them alone in that man's grasp sent a shiver down his spine. Okay, she whispered, searching his eyes. We'll work together, but it needs to be smart, subtle. As they plotted their next move under the siren's wail, a sudden roar of voices surged through the air. Cops were shouting orders. Cuffs were clicking in air of chaos thickening around them. Sir, Mayim, what is your connection to the suspect? A young officer asked, his brow crinkled with stress as he approached. Mike took a deep breath, words tumbling out before he could think. He after my family. I know how he has connected to Sarah. Please, you gotta help us find him before he hurts someone else. The officer hesitated, words of protocol lodged in his throat, but the genuine fear in Mike's eyes spoke volumes. We're looking for him, sir. We have a task force. Mike interjected, impatience flooding his voice. You think those guys can catch him? He is not just hiding. He is plotting something. You don't understand the danger. Before the officer could respond, a sudden commotion yanked Mike's attention back toward the shadows. A figure emerged hesitantly, silhouetted against the flickering fluorescent lights. It wasn't he the man, not yet, but a woman, disheveled and wild-eyed. Help me, she cried, staggering forward, her voice rising above the chaos. He is coming. We have to get out of here. Fear ripped through Mike. Who? Who is coming? The woman's breath came in ragged gasps, panic clawing at her face. The man from the shadows. He'll find you. He won't let you go. Stop. An officer shouted, grabbing her arm. Calm down. What do you mean? But the woman was in a frenzy. You don't get it. He's connected to something we've only scratched the surface of. There's a darkness that follows him, and he knows everything about all of you. Mike's heart sank, dread merging with confusion. What had this man done? What ties did he have to their lives? Had they stumbled into something far worse than they could fathom? We need to go, Rebecca said urgently, eyes darting from the frantic woman back to Mike. We can't stick around. We're running out of time. As the tension thrummed like an electric current, Mike knew they couldn't stay here much longer. But the woman's words echoed in his mind, wrapping around him like a snake, tightening as they slid through the chaos. What other truths lay hidden in the shadows? He turned to Rebecca, heart racing again. Let us find out who he really is before it's too late. The tension in the warehouse was palpable. Each moment felt stretched as they wrestled with uncertainty. Mike turned to Rebecca, determination hardening in his chest. They couldn't just stand around waiting for answers that might not come. Let us follow that lead, Mike said, his voice steady. The tracker. We need to see where it leads. The weight of their mission crystallized between them, the air thick with urgency. Rebecca nodded, her resolve matching his. They stepped cautiously through the scattered debris, keeping their voices low. Each creak of the floor felt magnified in the eerie silence. They instinctively wrapped arms around each other, a tether to hold onto as they approached the entrance. Do you think the police will let us go? Rebecca asked, glancing at the uniformed officers swarming the front of the building. What if they stop us? Maybe they'll understand if we explain the situation, Mike replied, his heart hammering. We can't let that man get away, not when the girls are in danger. With the tracker ominously beeping in Mike's pants pocket, they edged toward the exit. The chaotic scene outside was a whirlwind of flashing lights and urgent voices. Officers were positioning themselves with military precision. It felt surreal, like something from a movie, the sort of adrenaline-pumping thriller that played out too neatly for real life. As they stepped outside, the officer from before spotted them. Hey, you two, stop right there. Mike's heart raced. The urgency twisted into a knot in his stomach. We need to get to Sarah. She's in trouble. The girls get back. The officer barked, raising his hand. Mike pushed forward, the fire of determination igniting within him. But before he could respond, a chilling familiarity crept into the air. A menacing laughter echoed from the shadows. The man from the bridge stepped out, that cruel smile plastered across his face. Looks like we've found our little family reunion, he taunted. Leave us alone, Mike shouted, adrenaline flooding his veins. The world around him faded into a thrumming silence, drowned by the pounding of his heartbeat. Ah, but it's just getting interesting, the man replied, eyes gleaming with malice as he moved closer. You think you can escape what you don't understand? In that moment, everything felt sharp, each sound amplified, each heartbeat echoing with urgency. Mike felt Rebecca's hands squeeze as tighter. No room for panic, only action. They moved together, instinct guiding them toward the shadows, away from the chaos, the frenzy that buzzed around the warehouse. The tracker began pulsing wildly in Mike's pocket, leading them toward the opposite side of the street, deep into the dark alleyway where the air felt heavier and held its breath. Where's it taking us? Rebecca whispered, her voice trembling yet unwavering. Mike glanced down, heart racing even more now. We'll find out soon. Just keep quiet. The alley shifted between shadow and light, fragmented whispers clinging to the walls. Each step echoed, the world closing in around them, feeling more like a game of cat and mouse with each second. Suddenly, the device pinged loudly, a beacon guiding them toward an old, nondescript building at the alley's end. The paint was chipped, the windows clouded with grime, but there was something about it that screamed urgency. That's it, Mike said, pointing. That's where we need to go. As they approached, a familiar face appeared in a darkened window, a figure beckoning them inside, its silhouette drenched in shadow. Over here, the woman urged. It was Tess. Relief surged through Mike, but caution wrapped around him like a tight band. What are you doing here? Mike gasped, exchanging glances with Rebecca. We thought you were gone. Tess said, her voice strained but resolute. But I know who you're dealing with now, and we need to act fast. Then let us go, Rebecca urged, determination now igniting in her eyes. Their collective urgency spurred the decision, and they slipped into the building, darkness enveloping them completely. Inside, Tess moved fluidly, guiding them through the dim space like a ship navigating stormy waters. Sarah is hiding, but it's not just a hiding place. It's a trap. That man you saw wants leverage. He is tied to a web that could unravel everything you love. What do you mean? Mike's voice was clipped, tension curling in his gut. You said her deal was to protect our family. And that might still be true, but there's danger in what she did. She couldn't see the future clearly, Mike. The price she agreed to pay didn't include your safety. Tess stopped short in a doorway, her eyes darting back nervously. We have to move. He'll find us if we stay too long. Mike felt dread wash over him, but he couldn't allow fear to paralyze him now. Let's go find her. The tracker, does it still work? Yes, Tess replied, an edge of hope creeping in. But one T for long. We're running out of time. They began to rush through the dark corridors of the building, hearts pounding, tension thrumming in the air like an impending storm. Mike's thoughts flew to Sarah and the girls. Would they find her in time? Would all the efforts lead to something more than heartbreak and shadows? Suddenly, the sound of footsteps broke the stillness, heavy and purposeful. We have to hide, Rebecca hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. But Mike felt that familiar pull. He couldn't shrink away now, not when everything looked bleak. Not this time, he murmured, resolve hardening as he followed Tess down a narrow passage. The air felt thick, uncertainty still bubbling beneath the surface, but they pressed on the whisper of hope against the palpable terror of the unknown. Just a little longer, Tess urged. We can't let him catch us now. Sarah's counting on us. And just like that, determination blazed in Mike's heart, illuminating the shadows of doubt and fear that threatened to engulf them. We'll get to her. We have to. They reached a door, and with a swift movement, Tess pushed it open. The light spilled out, temporarily blinding them, but instinct drove them forward. They stepped through the threshold, uncertainty swirling in the air with the fervor of 1,000 lifetimes. As they emerged into the next room, Mike's heart raced, not knowing what awaited them, but feeling the undying pulse of family lingering strong and unwavering within him. Everything hung precariously on the edge, but there remained unbroken. Each slice of urgency and closure climbed toward an unyielding truth. They would fight against the darkness. They would save their family, and they would stand against whatever demons awaited. With the weight of love and hope behind them, the trio embraced the moment, ready to unearth the secrets lying ahead in the stark brightness of the lights. And just as they approached the final turn, the echo of a gunshot pierced through the air. Get down, Mike yelled, instincts kicking in as chaos exploded around them. The universe would pivot here, and only truth would redeem their souls. It was a fight for redemption, a fight for family, and in that instant, everything would be decided. It was time to confront whatever truth awaited in the blinding light ahead, if only they could survive the truths they weren't ready to hear. The moment stole his breath, swirling with the echoes of that fateful choice, leaving only one question, unrelenting. Would they triumph, or had they stepped into the darkest abyss of the unknown? True courage and vulnerability twinkled in the air like fireflies, daring them to step forward into the tempest brewing just ahead, and as they closed in toward a new dawn, one thing became clearer than ever. They were bound together, and hope was the lifeline that drove them forward, stronger than the shadows looming behind. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second to share this thrilling conclusion. Smash that like button now. Your support keeps the stories alive. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories. Let us connect. And don't forget to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this final chapter